Welcome back, you guys. We have an Archon Firearms Type B slide in hand. Very interesting because this is not only the first one of these I've had in hand, but it is also the first one of these I've had the opportunity to work on. I'm a little reserved because we haven't worked on one of these before. I don't know how difficult it's going to be to cut one of these, exactly what quality of cut we're going to get off of one of these. And also, I just don't have a lot of experience with them as far as, structurally how they're built, how they're designed, what we can do, what we can't do, what we shouldn't do. I want to give you some of my thoughts on that as we kind of make our way through this build video today. I want to first and foremost say we are not a reviewing channel. I don't go out and shoot. I don't tell you my opinions to try to sell you a gun. I don't care about any of that. I don't have contracts or ties with any of those companies to push guns or to push the brands and make some models of guns. I'm going to pretty much tell you how it is based off of how I see it. Okay, guys, I happen to work on a lot of things. I offer a lot of different services. I've done a lot of different oddball things, and I can kind of tell you what's a good idea, what's not a good idea, and I'm really going to tell you what I would offer as a service if it was my firearm and things I won't offer to you as a service because I just don't believe in them for the longevity of the slide. So with that being said, let's kind of move on and let's move forward. So my thoughts on this before we get into the cut work is there's a couple gotchas on this slide. The three main issues you're going to have with this overall is, one, if you happen to be the guy that takes down your guns, you like to clean them, take them apart, tinker with them, this is probably not the one for you. There happen to be a lot of internal components to this slide, okay? It's not like a firing pin with a spring with a cap. It's like other springs for the extractor, and there's springs that hold other springs in, and there happen to be way more parts internally in this slide than any other gun I've ever taken apart before. I know there's a lot of the older ones, some of the Lugers and some of the old World War II stuff and replicas that have a lot of parts, but with this being a new base design, it has way more parts in it than probably what are ever really needed. I mean, if you even look at some of the H&Ks, they've got safety systems set in place for the striker so it doesn't go off unless it's on a frame. This is like the next step up of like ridiculousness. So with that being said, to some of you that's not an issue. To some of the rest of you that are the guys that want to tinker with it, want to take stuff apart, take that into consideration when you're thinking about buying one of these, if that's you. So that's kind of the first one. The second one is the top rear of this slide doesn't really have a lot of material from where our internal holes are. So on normal firearms, we have a pin down the center, which is our firing pin. On this one, we have a channel on the right-hand side, which is basically our extractor channel. So we got an extractor channel here. And then we have another channel on the left-hand side, and it happens to be just for the rear cap, and it has a lot to do with other internal components that are inside. So we happen to have essentially three holes in the back of the slide. So that poses a problem, okay? Not because we haven't hit holes before, because with optic cuts in Glocks, we hit the plunger hole all the time. The difference is that we don't have a lot of material from the top to where those holes actually are. Okay, so if you were to mount the optic right on the dead set top of it, you really don't, right out of the get-go, you really don't have a whole lot of material from here to that hole. So by the time you cut this down and then you go into that hole, you have even less material. So there happen to be a lot of companies out there that are offering the studs. They do these little studs here to give you more strength. Something to take into consideration is yes, you get studs. Yes, you get more threads on your screw, but those studs are screwed into the top plate, and your top plate here is extremely thin before it hits those holes. So kind of not always seeing the logic of other companies. Hey, that's the service that they offer. Those are services that I don't offer. But at the end of the day, it comes out being one of those things where I'm not going to offer a service to you if I don't believe in it, if I don't believe in the longevity of it. I know that sometimes using different screws on optics to achieve a certain result has resulted in snapping the heads of screws off. So with that being said, that's a service I don't offer as of right now. That may change in the future, but that is another gotcha on one of these. You're probably going to be going with something like a plate system. You're going to lose your rear iron and go with some sort of a plate system. It's probably your best bet, in my opinion. Once again, this is only my opinion. Okay, so last but not least, inside we have a couple other components out here. We do have the barrel. The barrel has pegs on the side, which we've seen before on some of the other ones that are on the market, like our PX4 Berettas. And it doesn't rotate like you would think like the Beretta, but it does still ride on a rail system inside and out. So the barrel itself has pegs on it, and then of course the inside has a channel. And the issue that you run into is it's really thin right here on both sides, okay? So what that means is ultimately working in these zones, in my opinion, is probably not a good idea. So much, in fact, some of the companies that do shave the sides here to remove the factory text off here, you can still see the factory text because even they know we shouldn't go too deep or we're gonna crack the side. So that's my take on that. Those are probably the biggest 3 issues overall with the slide as far as what can we do, what is offered, what will be offered. These are all hurdles that we would have to overcome, but it's not something that people haven't worked around already. It just happens to be something that take into consideration who you send your stuff into, because you may find out that services that are offered at one point in time are not offered in the future, and there may be reasons why. So with that being said, let's talk about the work that we are going to be performing. We're going to be knurling the entire top section with the exception of the step down. So this is all going to get knurled. We're going to get some diamond plating on the top. We're going to use the laser to cut an hourglass in the flat zone here. So we're going to have a straight line, then it's going to come in, then out, then back down, and then of course there'll be a line. So it's going to look like an hourglass. Really cool overall. So we're going to use the laser for that because we want to get nice, crisp, clean cut corners, and the laser is the tool of choice in order to achieve that. Now, one of the requests that I've had from the customer is to extend these side serrations that are on here up over the top. We did discuss that once we cut the hole in there for the hourglass, we're going to see what kind of material thickness we have left. What we don't want to do is cut an hourglass, cut some serrations on the top, and all of a sudden part of the hourglass bends or cracks over time because it just structurally isn't there. So we have to make that decision kind of midway through this process. You guys may see it as a service on the final product. You may not see it on there. I just don't know what we're going to get yet until we cut the top of that. And then last but not least, we're going to be taking the barrel, and the barrel would normally go in something like this, and we're going to be porting the barrel. So on the top of the hourglass, it's going to be wider, then thinner, then wider. So we're going to have a longer port, smaller port, longer port. So it'll be like port, port, port. And of course, it'll be the top, the front and the back will be the longest, and the center one will be more narrow. But that's kind of the overall idea. We will be doing some coloring. So overall, I think we're going to get a better visual of exactly what it looks like as a final product. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to get over to the Tormach 770. Let's go ahead and turn out the precision knurling on the top of the slide. We will be working around where the front iron sight goes. The iron sight will be a suppressor sight on both of these. So the idea is that we'll kind of work around that because we don't want the knurling under that. So you're going to see us a little fine groove space there on the front. So we're going to have that nice and clean up there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make our way over to the laser system, and we're going to go ahead and cut that. We may or may not see those side serrations. At that point, we'll move forward with the barrel work. We'll do a little bit of coloring overall. We're going to kind of bring it back. Guys, let's take a moment here and see exactly how this came out in the end. I happen to have some updates on this build. So in the beginning of the video, we discussed some of the hurdles of the slide itself, some of those characteristics that really prevent us from doing some of the additional work. One of the requests that the customer did have was to do an optic cut in the top rear. With this being one of my first slides I've worked on, I had thought maybe we're going to pass on that. I'm thinking maybe it's just not a good idea as far as spending the time trying to figure it out. I don't know how many more of these are going to kind of come along, and I don't own one. So if I happen to have one in hand, I could probably do some test runs on one of mine, kind of just get a better feel for it. But however, the customer has sourced the workout through another vendor, which I think is awesome because you know, I don't offer everything. It comes out being one of those deals where some of the multicolor coatings, some of the milling, some of the more advanced milling, I just don't offer. So if it happens to be that I can do a piece to your puzzle, you know, I'm going to help you. I want to try to figure out exactly what we have to do in order for me to do my part, and then we'll get it back to you, and you can send that off and have that sourced out through one of the other vendors. But no doubt, if I can do the work, we'll do it. If we can't, then let's find the company that can do it, and let's get you your final build all together. Definitely like how it came out. The idea behind it is that since the other company is going to be doing the work on the slide, they're going to have this Cerakoted somewhere else, either from the other company or maybe even another company is going to be doing the Cerakoting. I wanted to add some color to the slide, give you a better visual of kind of just what it looks like under, you know, under conditions of what would be more of a completed slide overall. So obviously this isn't the color they're going with. This is your Midnight Bronze, your H294. So, but I wanted to run it, kind of wanted to really show you what that pattern looks like. Obviously, we're going to add some pictures to the build overall. Really cool. So we did the knurling. We did skip where the front iron sight's going to be. We want to make sure that we're going to have a nice flat bottom on there when that's tightened down. We ended up doing our hourglass. We ended up cutting our serrations that extended from what would be the kind of like the left side to the right side. That was actually pretty challenging because even though we're just extending serrations, we have to engrave straight down and not really onto the sloped edges, because we don't want to really change the angle of those, you know, because otherwise they'll all kind of be off. So we ended up kind of just engraving straight down, which in return ended up leaving some additional lines in there. So it wasn't a 110% successful thing. However, I am really pleased with it. I think that it came out pretty good. We will end up adding some pictures here to show just a little bit better. Guys, one of the other things that was a challenge to this build was the barrel. So we ended up putting the barrel in the slide. We ended up kind of squaring it up, setting it up, and then laser cutting it up. So let's put the barrel in the slide. Let's get just a little bit more of a visual of exactly where those ports kind of end. So this is kind of what we came out with in the end. So really liking that. Larger, smaller, larger. Let's see if we can get you a better angle. Here we go. So larger, smaller, larger. Overall, I think it's going to be a really good design. Something to take into consideration is that if you take a look at the barrel, which we'll pop it back out here, we have a pretty good amount of distance between where the barrel is, or where the round is actually in the barrel, so where it starts, it lands and grooves, and then where we end. So what that means is, even though we're going to be losing a lot of pressure behind that round as it exits the barrel, we happen to still have over an inch of stabilization before it actually leaves the barrel. So one of the things I think we're really going to achieve here is the kind of the pressure loss behind the round. So we're hopefully going to be able to reduce some of that recoil. I think overall we're going to achieve that, and then really we're not going to lose any of the ability of what we're actually going to get as far as the accuracy goes, because we have such a large range here for it to still stabilize before exiting the actual slide, or I should say the barrel. So let's take a look at the Cobra now. So that was one of the things I don't think we discussed at the beginning of the build video. Obviously we have had some changes along the way. We weren't sure what could be done, what should be done. So you know, and it was a one step at a time process. Let's do the top, let's cut a hole. Can we do the serrations? Let's cut some serrations. How do the ports line up? You know, or do we still want to go with the same port design? So there happened to be a lot of, you know, one step process leads to the next step as a building block, as a stepping stone. So it was one of those kind of deals. We ended up doing the Cobra nose as one of what would be the last projects on the slide itself before you know, before doing the barrel cutting. But overall, really cool. We ended up getting that C cut here in the front, able to see some barrel from the left and right hand side. Obviously, we achieved some weight reduction at the same time. I don't know what the customer's doing with the barrel, whether they're going to go, you know, keep it black, shoot it, whether they're going to go with a different color. Once again, I'm not 100% sure what we're doing as far as the color scheme goes. I do know that we did do the frame. So the frame was actually done here. So this is your Magpul Stealth Gray. I'm gonna take a look at the number here just for you guys. It's H188. So this is actually our bottle here. We'll grab that and add that to the video. So it's an interesting color because you guys have heard me say in the past that it's really dark. It's almost black. When you apply this this coating to a metal slide, it seems to be really dry, almost to the point where like almost touching it just leaves marks. And when you do it to polymers, it actually lays better than it does on metal. I don't know if there's something in it or it's just the way that it's absorbed, but overall it does almost look black. Out in what would be you know, the sun, you can definitely tell that it's really not a black. It really is a gray, but it happens to be pretty hard to tell inside here that we're kind of where we're filming. So overall, real cool. So we clean that up, and obviously we go ahead and apply that, guys. What I want to do now is I want to show you a project that kind of we kind of started recording and lost some of the content, and I still want to display it. I still want to show it to you. And it's not another one of these, but it happens to be something that I think you're gonna like. So let's kind of jump over there and let's just see what we come up with here on this other build. All right, guys. So this happens to be the P365. And we ended up starting the video, we ended up kind of losing some of the content, and then through the way, as the project was evolving and changing, I just didn't know the direction we were going, and I just kind of stopped filming because we had lost part of that content. However, I do believe that it does deserve a little bit of attention. I wanted to show you guys this. Some of these features that you're going to see on this particular slide are offered on the web page, so you can go there. This is one of our newer patterns. So this is more of like our dragon scale pattern. It's really in depth as far as what's there. So we didn't just pull a scale pattern off of you know, Google and run it. I actually created the scale, created the inside of the scale, and then how it's repeated on it. So very cool. We ended up doing this in burnt bronze, the color, and I ended up adding a little bit of I guess secret sauce in there, if that's the way you want to call it. And it gives it a little bit more pop, a little bit more of the burnt bronze and maybe what you would typically see. It stands out a little bit more. Overall, really cool. We ended up doing a top port, the Cobra nose on the side, then of course the scaling on both sides, keeping the P365, not really butchering any of the serrations. And then we also added it to the back of the slide here. Really cool. Now, one of the things that you're also going to find out is that we matched the barrel. So we do also offer the service on the barrel all the way around. Now these barrels can be polished, they can be gold, they can be black, they can be rose. We do have a copper color that we're also offering as well. So these can be sent out, these can be color matched to your project, to your frame, to your trigger, to whatever you're looking for. And overall, it's a beautiful build. So one of the things about this build was I didn't really want to do side windows. I really wanted to not take away from the barrel, and I also wanted to show the barrel how it blends with the rest of the build. So what I didn't want to do is I really didn't want to do some side windows. I really wanted to keep the sides very specific to what they are. It kind of leaves a lot of detail on the sides. And then when you roll to the top, you find out that the top rear and the top barrel match each other. So it's almost like two beautiful things that are almost non-existent to each other, but yet they're on the same piece. So left to right, we get to see some nose. There's no design, and of course we don't see any barrel. And then on the top, we get its own package, which is basically the barrel, and then the top rear. So overall, really pleased with the way this came out. I thought it just needed a couple of minutes of attention to show you guys what it is, kind of just how it lays, what the pattern is overall, what the vision was. But guys, if you have not been following us over on Instagram, you should. This is kind of where the content's gonna be posted. So if we miss some of the video, if we have an issue with the content as we're recording, more than likely you're still gonna see something of the build, but it's gonna pop over on Instagram first. Everything that's posted on Instagram ends up getting posted over onto our Facebook account as well. So it's kind of an easy deal. So if you don't do Instagram, but you do Facebook, follow us over there, like our content over there. So it kind of still gives you the information of what's going on. And of course, if you want to know more about the patterns, the packages, the offerings, go to the webpage. There is a contacts tab. Most of our commonly requested builds, you're going to find that if you go to the services tab and then you choose your make and model, more than likely it's in there. So if you're looking for something specific that maybe you haven't seen as a build, as you know, under the services tab on the webpage, reach out to us. That's why we have a contacts tab. Let us know what you want to do. We can blend patterns, we can take parts off of patterns, we can add different areas to a pattern to kind of adjust those and alter those specifically to you. But really the common stuff like this is going to be done in what would be a more simplified version. So we may not offer an exact pattern, everything that's there, although you can get it. But the common stuff, which is going to be like the sides, that's going to be offered. And the reason why is because we do offer a Cobra nose. We do already offer the Raptor cuts. We do already offer the optic cut on this slide. So now it gives you the ability to still use those services for the nose, the top, or the top rear for your optic, and add the side, or just add, say, the sides and just the nose. So you have the ability to kind of build it as you want. So this is one of those deals where we can build this exact one with an optic on the back if that's what you're looking for. But the idea really is to be able to use some of the patterns that are already available with this. So this is kind of a premium service. This is kind of one of those upgrades to what is already offered. So definitely a cool opportunity. Guys, if you happen to have any questions about it, that's why we have a contacts tab. That's why we have our email. At the end of each video, you're going to see the mark at NCEngravers. Feel free to send me an email. Feel free to call me, text me, email me. Let me know what's going on. We're going to definitely be keep building some crazy patterns for you guys. We have definitely a couple high-end builds that are still here that we haven't turned out yet. Really eager to get those turned out. Really, I know my customers are really eager to get those back, and it's stuff that you haven't seen before. So this happens to be one of them. Matter of fact, in this video today that you watched, there was 2 of them that you haven't seen before. So these are both high-end builds, something new, something we just haven't released yet. So this is kind of why you guys come here, because we build kind of weird stuff. So if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me.